Hello students, so now welcome to the new video for on the chapter demand analysis. Okay, so in the previous chapter we have learned the types of demand. So now let's move to the determinants of demand. So what all things determine the demand? Okay, the demand for goods is determined by the following factors. Okay? First is the price. So price means determines the demand for a commodity to a large extent. Consumers prefer to purchase a product in large quantities when price of a product is less, and they purchase a product in small quantity when the price is high. So this is human tendency. When the price is high, we will buy less of it, and more when the price is less. Okay, so this is first determinant. Second comes the income. Okay, the income decides the purchasing power, which in turn influences the demand for the product. So if you have money, then only you will buy the product, right? So that is why the purchasing power is important. Rise in income will lead to rise in demand for the commodity, and fall in income will lead to fall in demand for the commodity. So that is again a most important factor. Okay, most important determinant, because if you don't have money, you are not going to buy the commodity, right? Then comes the price of the substitute goods. If the substitute good is available at a lower price, then people will demand cheaper substitute goods than the costly goods. Example, if the price of sugar rise, then demand for jaggery will rise. Okay, so just remember the determinant, because it's similar to what we have studied previously. Also the factors and all these are things are there in the previous topics as well, like substitute, income, price. Don't get confused with all the same things. Price of the complementary goods. Okay, what are complementary goods? Like if you buy one, you compulsorily have to buy the other one. Like if you buy a car, you have to buy the fuel, that is the gas, CNG gas, or the petrol or the diesel. Change in price of one commodity would also affect the demand for the commodity. For example, car and fuel. If the price of fuel rises, then demand for cars will fall. Okay, so these are complementary goods. Then comes the nature of the product. What is the nature of the product? If a commodity is a necessity, it's a compulsory to buy, and we cannot avoid you cannot avoid that commodity, then its demand will continue to the same irrespective of the corresponding price. Even if the price increases, then also we will buy it. Because example is like medicines to control blood pressure. If you have blood pressure, then definitely we have to buy the medicine to control it, even if the price increases. Okay, we cannot do anything for that. Then comes the size of population. Okay, larger the size of population, greater will be the demand for a commodity, and smaller the size, smaller will be the demand for a commodity. That is a natural thing. If there is no population, no people, then obviously the demand will be less. Expectations about the future prices. If the consumer expects the price to fall in future, he will buy less in the present at the prevailing price. That is, at the current price, he will buy less of that commodity if he knows that the price is going to fall in future. Similarly, if he expects the price to rise in future, he will buy more in present at the prevailing price. That's a human tendency. If we know, example is like, best example is gold. We know that the price is going to increase in future. Okay, so we might buy more now instead of buying it later. But if it's a necessity, or it's necessary to buy in the later time, then we will definitely buy even if the price is high. Okay, then comes the advertisement. Advertisement means like sales promotion schemes, effective salesmanship tend to change the preference of the consumers and lead to demand for many products. Example is like cosmetics and toothbrush. So if you see ad coming on television or somewhere about the cosmetics, we are aware of all this thing because of the advertisement. Okay, the sales promotion, the way the stars are there in the advertisement, we get influenced by them and we buy that product, right? So advertisement plays an important factor of demand. Okay, then taste, habits and fashion. Taste and habits of consumer influence the demand for a commodity. If a consumer likes to eat chocolates or consume tea, he will demand more of them. Similarly, when a new fashion hits the market, the consumer demands that particular type of commodity. If a commodity goes out of fashion, then suddenly the demand for the product tends to fall. So if you have seen, if there is some fashion going on, like if there is a fashion for clothes, the demand will increase for that. But if it goes out of fashion, then definitely the demand will fall for that. Level of taxation. High rates of tax on goods and services would increase the price of goods and services. This in turn will result in decrease in demand for goods and services, and vice versa. Suppose if there are taxes on electronics or automobiles, then definitely the demand will decrease. Okay, so if the taxes are imposed on it, the GST, CST, if it's very high, then definitely the demand will go low on that, right? Other factors, what are the other factors that determine the demand? Are climatic conditions. According to the climate, when it's summer, the cotton clothes, the demand for cotton clothes will increase, and for woolen it will go down. Change in the technology, like now we have iPhones, okay, smartphone, but now most of the people use the latest technology of phones. No one is using the Nokia or some old phones. Okay, so change in technology will determine the demand. Government policy, if government comes up with good policies, the demand for that product might increase. Customs and traditions, for some customs and traditions, some people prefer some type of clothing, particular type of clothing or something like that, according to the customs and traditions. So according to that, the demand will also increase for that. Okay, so these were the determinants of demand. So now let's study what is the law of demand. So what does law means? The law was introduced by Professor Alfred Marshall in the book Principles of Economics. So just remember, this name is very important because this have come many times, and his book name is Principles of Economics. It was published in the year 1890. The law explains the functional relationship between price and quantity demanded. Okay. What is the statement of this law? According to Professor Marshall, other things being equal, higher the price of a commodity, smaller is the quantity demanded, and lower the price of the commodity, larger is the quantity demanded. So this same thing goes on repeating every time. So you have to remember what exactly you have to write for the statement of law. Okay. In other words, other factors remaining constant, if price of a commodity rises, demand for it falls, and when price of a commodity falls, demand for the commodity rises. Thus, there is an inverse relation between price and quantity demanded. So, if you have studied this previously also, okay. So, if the price increases, the demand falls, and demand will increase if the price falls. Remember this. Symbolically, the functional relationship between demand and price is expressed as D of x equal to F of P of x. Okay, where D is equal to, so when you get the question of statement of law, the law of demand, you have to give this explanation. Okay, symbolically you have to write this as well. D is equal to demand of a commodity, X is the commodity, F is the function, and P of X is the price of the commodity. Okay, and these are the assumptions. There are few assumptions for law of demand. Okay, they are based on pure assumptions. There cannot be some fixed answer for all this thing. Constant level of income. If the law of demand is to find true operate, then consumers' income should remain constant. Okay, if there is a rise in income, people may demand more at a given price. So these are just the assumption. In reality, it cannot be possible that income will remain same for everyone. There will be a rise in income. Okay, people may demand more at a given price. Then comes no change in size of population. This is not going to happen, but this is just an assumption. It is assumed that the size of population remains unchanged. Any change in size and composition of country affects the total demand for the product. So as the population increases, the demand for some goods and services also keeps on changing. Price of substitute goods remains constant. It's assumed that the price of substitute remains unchanged. Any change in price of substitute will affect the demand for the commodity. Example is like substitute goods, tea and coffee, sugar and jaggery. Price of complementary goods. It's assumed that the price of complementary goods remain unchanged because of change in price, and one good will affect the demand further. What are complementary goods? We have to buy both the goods. Like if we are buying a car, we have to buy the fuel as well. Okay. So change, it remains constant. No expectations about future prices in future changes in price. It's assumed that consumer do not expect any further change in price in the near future. If consumer expect a rise in future, then the demand more the demand more in the present even at existing price. So this is just an assumption. No expectations about a future change in price. We are not expecting any changes in price. So this is not going to happen, right? Prices may change and there will be expectations. No change in taste, habits, preferences, fashion, etc. It's assumed that the consumer's taste, habits, preferences, fashion, etc. should remain unchanged. Any change in these futures will lead to a change. Any change in these factors will lead to a change in demand. No change in taste, habits, preferences, fashions, etc. Okay. So these are just the assumptions, remember that. Last one is no change in the taxation policy. Taxation policy of the government has a great impact on demand for various goods and services. So therefore, it's assumed that there is no change in the taxation policy. So if you remember, this is the same which we studied previously, but these are the assumptions. Therefore, there we have to write no change, no expectations. Everything have to be written negatively, but in reality, all these things are not possible. Okay. So now let's move to the next. The law of demand is explained with the help of the following demand schedule and diagram. Okay, we have now studied the assumptions, so we'll now study the demand schedule. So in demand schedule, we have taken the commodity as X and its price in rupees as 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 and quantity demanded in kgs. So if you see if the price is more, the quantity demanded is less, and once it's less, the quantity demanded is more. Because that's a human tendency. You make sure that you draw the diagram to explain the law of demand. Okay, when price of commodity X is 50 demanded, the quantity demanded is 1 kg. When price falls from 50 to 40, the quantity demanded rises from 1 to 2 kgs. Thus, as the price falls, quantity demanded rises, and when price rises, quantity demanded falls. This shows an inverse relation. So now if you are writing the answer for law of demand, you definitely have to draw the schedule to explain why there is an inverse relationship between the price and quantity demanded. So this is a demand curve. So I have drawn y-axis and x-axis. On x-axis we have the quantity demanded. Quantity demanded is 1 to 5 kgs. So I have drawn 1 to 5 over here, and the price is from 10 to 50. So I have drawn on the y-axis. So you have to plot the points, and when you plot the points, you will understand that you get a downward slope like this. Okay, so this way the slope comes, and that's why it shows that there is an inverse relation. Okay, so now let's move to the exceptions to the law of demand. So what are the exceptions to this law? There are certain exceptions to the law of demand. It means that under exceptional circumstances, consumer buys more when the price rises and buys less when the price falls. So remember over here, this statement is when the price rises, they buy more and buy less when the price falls. In such cases, demand curve slopes upward from left to right. From left, it goes up, that is right. That is, the demand curve has a positive slope as shown in the diagram below. So remember this is the exception. And what is the law of demand says? When the price rises, the demand falls, and when the price falls, the demand rises. But in this case, to the exception, it is opposite, and that is why the curve slopes from left to right and it moves from downward to upward position. So this is a positive slope. Okay, so remember and don't get confused on this. So now these are the exceptions to the law of demand. First is the Griffin's paradox. Griffin is one of the economists, okay, and he have studied what are the exceptions of the law of demand. Inferior quality or low quality goods are those goods whose demand does not rise even if their price falls. At times demand decreases when the price of such commodities fall. So here he is referring to the exception. Even if the price falls, the demand is not going to rise. For example, he has Sir Robert Griffin observed this behavior in England in relation to bread. Okay, he noted that when the price of bread declined, people did not buy more because of an increase in their real income or purchasing power. They preferred to buy superior goods like meat. This is known as Griffin's paradox. So it's not necessary that everyone will buy if the price fall. Here in this example, Sir Robert Griffin has observed that even if the price of bread has fallen, people do not buy more of bread. They have the real income, purchasing power is there. Therefore, they try to buy more superior goods. Like in this case, it's meat. Okay. So next, let's move to the next one. That is the prestige goods. Okay. So what are prestige goods? So prestige goods are like expensive goods like diamond, gold, silver, etc. They are status symbol. So rich people buy more of it even when the prices are high. So rich people don't wait for the prices to fall or something because they have more money, their purchasing power is more. So, and it's the prestige good, the status symbol. So they will buy more even if the price is high. Okay, so that is one of the other exception. Next comes speculation. Speculation means what? The law of demand does not hold true when people expect prices to rise still further. Speculation is like we are expecting that the price will fall in future or rise in future. In this case, although the price have risen today, consumer will demand more in anticipation of future rise in price. So he will buy more today because he will think that tomorrow the price will be high, so he is buying more today. Example, the price of oil, sugar, etc. tend to rise before Diwali, so people go on purchasing more at a high price as they go on purchasing more at high price as they anticipate price may rise during Diwali. Okay, the purchasing power is increases. They have a speculation that the price will increase at the time of Diwali or some festival. Okay, so next is price illusion. Consumers have an illusion. Illusion is like a type of behavior wherein you feel like that it might increase, that high price goods are of better quality. You feel that high price goods are of better quality, therefore the demand for such goods tend to increase with the rising price. Example are branded products which are expensive and demanded even at high prices. So if you buy clothes or something or shoes, they are branded but the price is very high. Even if it's high, you buy it, you buy that goods because you have an illusion, because it's a better quality, that's why you buy it. Okay, next comes ignorance. Sometimes due to ignorance, people buy more of a commodity at a high price. This may happen when consumer is ignorant about the price of that commodity at other places. Sometimes we are not aware of the prices at some other places. We just go and buy it. We don't compare the prices with other places or other things. Okay, and that's why we are ignorant and we buy the things. Okay, habitual goods. Due to the habit of consumption, certain goods like teas purchased in required quantity even at higher price. Okay, if you are addicted to tea or coffee, you will buy, the consumption will be, it's a habit, and that's why even if the price goes high, you will buy more, you will keep on buying that goods. Okay, then comes what are the variations in demand. The demand for a commodity falls or rise due to change in price alone and other factors remain constant. It is called as variation in demand. Variation means changes in demand. It is of two types, expansion of demand and contraction of demand. So what is expansion? Expand means increases. Expansion of demand refers to rise in quantity demanded due to fall in price alone, while other factors like taste, income of consumer, size of population, etc. remains unchanged. Okay, demand moves in downward direction on the same demand curve. So expansion of demand means due to fall in price, demand increases. Okay, next comes the contraction of demand. So what is contraction? As the word says, contract means decreases. Contraction of demand refers to fall in demand due to rise in price alone. Other factors like taste, income of the consumer, size of population remains unchanged. Demand curves moves in upward direction on the same demand curve. It moves upward, okay, on the same demand curve. Contracts, it's due to fall in price, the demand also falls. Okay, so these are the two variations. Then what are the changes in demand? When demand for a commodity increases or decreases due to change in factors like price and price, due to changes in other factors and price remain constant, it's known as changes in demand. It's of two types. Okay, increase in demand and decrease in demand. What is increase in demand? It refers to increase in quantity demanded due to the favorable changes in other factors like taste, income of the consumer, climatic, and price remain constant. So in expansion was like price was changing and other things was constant, but in increase in demand other things changes but price remains constant. Okay, demand curve shifts to the right hand side of the original demand curve. Okay, decrease in demand, it refers to decrease in quantity demanded due to unfavorable changes in other factors like taste, income of the consumer, climatic condition, and price remains constant. Okay, so this is the same as expansion, but there the price was changing, but here the price remains constant, and demand curve shifts to left hand side of the original demand curve. Okay, so students, this was it for the demand analysis. If you have any doubts, questions on this chapter, do let me know in the comments section. Okay, so now let's move to the most likely questions which are on demand analysis. So first I would say is the difference between desire and demand. What is, you have to write the definition, meaning of desire, demand. You can give examples on this. Okay, you have to write in brief. Then is expansion and contraction of demand. So as I said right now, we just had this expansion, contraction in this chapter, in this video itself. Increase and decrease in demand. Okay, then what is demand? So whenever you are writing all this answer, you first give the definition, meaning of demand, and then give the answer so that it would be more in brief and detail. So what is demand? Explain in detail. So draw the diagrams as well for this. explain the determinants of demand, what determines the demand. Okay, then explain the law of demand and its exceptions, and what are the assumptions of demand. Okay, so these are the most likely questions that would come in the exam. So be very careful, and the chapter is very easy. If you still have any doubts, any concept is not clear, do let me know in the comment section. So that was it. Thank you, student. Do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Bye.